Hey everyone, I'm Haley. This is Bitter Kitten Crafts. This is a channel where we talk about crochet and knitting and crafty stuff. And I figured today would be a good day to do a WIP parade of all the WIPs I'm bringing into 2025, both knitting and crochet. There's a literal heap of WIPs. And I figured that it would be fun to show y'all. And if you've watched any of my past videos, I've done 1 or 2 WIP parades before. If I'm not showing it in this video, then it's been frogged or let go or donated or somebody in my knitting group claimed the yarn. So this is everything, knitting and crochet. And I'm also going to show a couple projects that I'm planning on frogging, even though they're FOs from at least 1 year ago, if not like 5 years ago, that I just like don't use or don't wear. Yeah, so with that, let's go ahead and get started because there's a lot to get through. This might be a long one. So I'm just gonna start with my current active WIP that I just cast on. And this is not much yet. This is the Stamford Sweater. So this is a pattern that just got released by the Knit Purl Girl. I love her Instagram account and she has some beautiful patterns. This is not the only pattern of hers I plan to knit this year. So it's called the Stamford Sweater. I'll put a photo up. And it's just like a raglan. I guess you would consider it a Henley, but it's a very deep Henley. So all I have right now is like, oh, and this is my cat Boo. All I have right now is like the back shoulders. So I'm doing a fun scrappy stripe situation. I have this big bag of worsted weight yarn, and I had a bunch of just like single skeins of worsted weight yarn. So I have mostly blues, every single blue worsted weight that I had, and then I have 2 skeins of this yellow too. So I think it'll be a fun scrappy stripy piece. And I don't have that many worsted weight garments that I've knit, so I'm really excited to have this in my wardrobe. Most of my yarn is fingering weight because I'm cheap. I'm so cheap and I don't want to shell out for like 8 skeins of worsted weight yarn. Even, you know, non-hand dyed commercial worsted weight, the sweaters, it's expensive. It's not in my budget. So I knit a lot of fingering weight stuff or scrappy stuff like this. So this is a really cool piece. I know it literally is just a strip of knitting so far. So more to come on this in my next video, my next podcast. So after my active WIP, also, I'm wearing a sweater that I thrifted, and it's a hand knit sweater. I did not knit it. I wish I had because it's adorable, but it's old. It's like a seamed garment and both the front and back panels are the same, thank God, because there's no tags, there's no anything. It's just like a garment that was knit in panels and seamed, frankly seemed kind of poorly, but I really like the end result and I'd love to knit something identical to this soon, once I work my way through this heap. Yeah, so on to the next one. This is one that I've shown in previous videos that I just have let linger for, I would say like 1.5 years, maybe longer, I'm actually not sure. So this is Legwarmers. I didn't follow a pattern, I just sort of used random yarn that I had in my stash, and it's fingering weight single ply held double. I mentioned in my last video that I had bought a lot of Madeline Tosh single ply when they were going out of business, and this is some of that. So this is a leg warmer. It's like a 3x3 rib, and it's honestly like, I don't know how much I'm gonna wear them even when they're done. They're cute. They're really cute. The goal was, I really like the look of like when you wear really tall socks with Converse and you like scrunch them down. So I figured I would knit something that was pretty similar to that. And honestly, I was at March this weekend, and I could have really used something like this because my toes were freezing. So here's the start of the second one. And I really I even put this on the stitch holder cord stuff because I just simply couldn't be bothered to finish it. Part of the reason is because this yarn has just gotten literally atrociously tangled. And I don't know how to hold it double without it just barfing on itself. So that's been a huge pain, but this is one that I don't think I'll frog because honestly, I don't know what else I would do with the yarn for one. And for 2, I mean, I'm so close. Like, I'm literally inches away from finishing this. I mean, you know, 2 inches away. And this is all the yarn I have left. So to frog it when it's held double, like, I don't know what, like, then I just have a random ball of this in my stash. So I don't want to do that. So this will be finished and not frogged. When will it be finished? I could not tell you. It could be months. Hopefully it'll be soon, though. This is something I'd like to put into my rotation. I think I could knock it out in like one evening if I really tried. So this is 2 WIPs in one. This is Christmas socks, and these are socks I started in 2023, not 2024. So these are over a year old at this point, and I goofed with these. So I was trying to knit socks that were, let's see if I can find it in here. So I was trying to knit Afterthought, you know, just like normal Afterthought socks with this ball of West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply. And if you were watching my videos a year ago, you would have seen this yarn. This is just like Christmas themed self-striping sock yarn. And I knit a 2x2 ribbed cuff. And then I cast on the second cuff while we were on a road trip, and I cast on a 1x1 cuff. And I knitted an entire cuff, and I realized, like, looking down at it, I was like, oh, this one's 2x2 and this one's 1x1. I'm an idiot. And so then I just decided, oh, I'll just knit an entire second pair of Christmas socks to fit. Rather than frogging the one cuff, I'll knit an entire second pair of socks. Genius of me, I know. And so as a result, I have 3 socks. One of them has a heel. 2 of them do not have heels, but they have I guess it's a Forethought heel because I put the yarn in to cut it out. And these are scraps from my Christmas sweater I knitted last Christmas, which was like this pink, this is woolen vinyl yarn, and they did like a pink peppermint swirl colorway or something for Christmas last year, and I just loved it. So I bought this yarn, and then I knit a Christmas sweater. I'll try to put in a picture that's like pink and red and green and white sparkly striped. And then I had all this leftover Christmassy colored stuff, so I just threw it in these socks, and they don't match, and I love them. And I've knitted 1 out of 4 heels. So this is something that obviously, like, there's no reason to frog this stuff. I just don't think I'll get around to it till probably next, like November, probably, because there's no reason to finish them now, because I will not wear Christmas socks in February or January. And I still have to knit the entirety of this second sock. So I have plenty of yarn, obviously, but this was like all because I knitted the wrong cuff size. I knit 2 entire extra socks, which seems crazy, but they're cute. They're cute, and when they're done, like, I'll definitely wear them. I wear all my hand-knit socks a lot, but I don't really think I need more pairs than what I have now. I do have 1 pair in my queue for 2025, just because I have 1 more skein of self-striping of this West Yorkshire Spinners in like a black and white and pink and blue situation. So I'll probably knit that up just because, like, I have it, but I really have moved out of my sock phase. I do love knitting them, but I have a lot, like, I have enough. So these are a keep, but these are also a back burner project for absolute sure. I'll probably pick these up, you know, maybe for Advent next year or something like that. Okay, let's do my big crochet whip just because I'm really excited about it. So this, I don't know if I can show this well. This is a box of crochet squares, and this is, right now I have 89 out of 144 was my goal, and this is a granny square blanket that I cast on in September, and I've been just like sort of slowly chipping away at it. My goal is to have 144 squares, 72 like kind of stripey ones where each row is a different color, and then 72 like solid. And it's fingering weight sock yarn held double. A lot of it is also worsted weight machine washable scraps, and some of it is scraps of mine, some of it is scraps from Upcycle Creative Reuse, which is a craft thrift store in Virginia. I live in DC. Well, now I just moved. I live right outside DC. So this is a place that's like 45 minutes away from me, and they have really beautiful yarn a lot of the time, and it's like fill a bag for 10 bucks. So I went there a while ago when I first started this blanket, and I just took home all their pink scraps, and so I ended up with a bunch of cute colors, and I've just been kind of chipping away at them with this blanket. I have enough yarn to complete the entire blanket, and I separated out all of my greens and blues, so this is basically just like pinks and purples. There's like oranges and yellows and pinks and purples. Basically all my warm tones are in here. And then derangedly, I will knit or crochet probably a second blanket, which will be all my blues and greens and like cool tones. I love granny square blankets. I really hate sitting still. I can't keep my hands still. I love a granny square. And so I'm a nanny, and my kids, my nanny children, I don't have any children. My nanny kids are, you know, they're in karate, and they do like activities where I have to sit for like an hour and kill time. And, you know, basically anytime I'm like riding the bus, or I'm sitting with my nanny kids, or I'm, you know, babysitting and they've gone to sleep already, or whatever it is, I just whip out a granny square and chug through it. My goal has been one a day, and I've gotten a lot done. Like I said, I have 89 out of 144, and I've been working on it for about 6 months. My last granny square blanket was a king size blanket, and these are 7x7 rows, so each one, I weighed it. That's why I picked that number. Each one of these squares takes about 20 grams. It's like 18 grams per square. And I figured that way if I hold it double, it's like 18 grams per square, and I can get 5 squares out of one skein. And a lot of it is self-striping sock yarn, so it looks kind of cool. You know, you can kind of see the stripes on this one. It looks kind of cool to have it just all jumbled up together. And I'm really, really excited about this one. My last blanket was way less cohesive with color, and it's hideous. It's like, I love a hideous, I love it, but I'll put a picture of it. It's hideous, but it is 100% wool, so I love that about it. It's very heavy. It's like a weighted blanket. It's a king size blanket. So this one will probably be more like a queen size blanket, and my last one was a king size blanket. It's gonna be 144 squares that are 7 rows each. And it's basically all the machine washable yarn that I can get hold of. So this is a long-term project, but I will show more of this at a later time. Okay, I'm actually just going to show my other granny squares while we're here, because I have 2 granny square projects going on right now. This one, the one I just showed, I started in September. This one is the Ariana Cardigan, which is a pattern that is free from Berroco. And it's by Amy Christoffers, who I've knit several of her patterns before, and I love them. So this is quite different than the other one, because these are fingering weight instead of held double. And I have like 40 in here. I have like a whole bunch, and I just have never completed the project for reasons unknown. For reasons completely unknown. And I have a lot, I mean, this is probably half of what I have. I have a ton. I just have basically completely abandoned this project in favor of blankets, which I genuinely don't know why. This color palette is really cute. It's like magenta and gray basically, and like random other colors. But this is definitely something, you know, I have the intention and the hope of finishing it, but the actual output, who's to say? I mean, these have been sitting for probably 2 years, maybe 3. You know, it would be a shame to get rid of them or something, because they are really cute, and like I will eventually make it into something, but you know, like I said, when, I don't know. Probably, honestly, after I finish this granny square blanket, I'll return to this project. But the blanket is just so much more useful than a singular sweater, and honestly the amount of work is pretty comparable, because this project needs, these are 5 round granny squares, and this project needs something like in the hundreds of that. I think like 121 squares, something crazy. And this blanket's 144 squares. So really at the end of the day, after you do the join and go of making a cardigan, like you could have an entire blanket. So it seems stupid. Yeah, but these are made of non-machine washable yarn. So that's like basically the major difference between the two projects and like how I sorted my yarn. I would never make a blanket out of feltable wool. That seems stupid, especially with 2 cats. So, okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. We have like, no, we have a lot more. I'm not gonna lie. We have a lot more. Let's start with another more recent WIP. So this is a project I was working on in like August, September of 2024. And then I had to abandon it because we were going on vacation and I just simply couldn't justify bringing this entire project to my honeymoon, which was a tropical vacation. So I cast on a new garment for that, which I will show. It's completely finished now. I just finished it. So I'm not going to show it in this video because it's not a WIP. But this was just too big for my carry-on, so I just left it at home and then basically abandoned it with only 1 sleeve left. So this is the Big Rib by Jessie Maed. And like I said, like I'm actually really far along. This was another scrappy project. I am in like a stash busting phase of my life. You know, budget wise, it just makes the most sense to use what I have. So I have a lot of yarn. So there's no need to go out and buy yarn that's like all the same color for a project because I can just sort of like patch things together and it's been working okay. That's not true with every single project that I plan to knit or that I am currently whipping on, but I do hope that in 2025 I'll knit with what I have and crochet with what I have and then also finish all this stuff, and honestly that might take me half the year. So fingers crossed for that. I know a lot of us seem to have the same goal this year, so fingers crossed for all of us for that. But anyway, this is the Big Rib. If you've watched any of my past videos, you know that I've made 2 of these in the past. One of them was a Surrey blend that I knit in 2023. That's a beautiful garment. And one of them is also knit in this, basically the same combination of yarn. So this is Mad Tosh, single ply again, for the most part. There's a couple, obviously the cuff is some hand spun that someone else hand spun. I don't spin. And they gave it to me as a gift. The reason they gave it to me as a gift is because it's it's a first draft type of spin, you know? So I'm happy to have put it to use because it's been in a ball in my stash for ages and it's quite unevenly spun, but it turned out cute on the cuffs. So I have enough for both cuffs of that. So yeah, so this is my 3rd iteration of this pattern. The first 2, I knit the XL and I went down a needle size from the pattern. I knitted on size 9s, or I stayed with the same needle size as the pattern, but I knitted on size 9s. And I didn't get the amount of ease that the pattern suggests that I should have gotten, meaning my gauge was too tight. So in this iteration, I went up both a size. Now this is a 2X, and I went up a needle size. So I'm knitting it on size 10 needles on a 2X. So the difference in size is quite stark, I would say. And yeah, these are mostly all fingering weight single ply scraps held double. Some of it is... There's like a couple of regular 4-ply scraps in here too. And I did like plan it so that, I don't know if you can tell, like there's this scrap that's like bluey green and then this scrap that's like bluey purple, and they like kind of line up. The dream was that they lined up perfectly, but that never happens, you know. So I only have 1 sleeve left. And this is something that, again, I could, you know, if I wasn't working over the weekend or something, I could knock out like the entire sleeve in a couple days. I just really got excited about the new WIP that I cast on for my honeymoon, and I basically just left this to rot since like September. So like basically now, September, October, November, December, January, like 5.5 months ago. And it deserves a finish because I would like to wear it this winter. And I have plenty of yarn in here left to finish this situation. This is another just like sort of randomly abandoned project. This is the coloring book raglan tee by Aimee Sher. And it is just like a little raglan t-shirt pattern. Basically, I have knit a bajillion Cozy Classic Lights, and I was trying to find a different t-shirt raglan pattern knit with fingering weight yarn that I might like. I got a lot of recommendations for hers because the fit of the Cozy Classic Light, I like it, but the raglan is quite deep, kind of like this sweater. So, well, this isn't raglan, but you know, you got a lot of extra material like at your armpits in the Cozy Classic Light. And so I was perusing and I asked my knitting group for recommendations, and they recommended the coloring book tee because it's much more fitted in like the bust and the raglan area, which I have a bigger bust, so I really like more fitted garments. I feel like they're more flattering unless the neck is more deep, because otherwise I just look lumpy, which I don't like looking lumpy. So this is the coloring book tee. I cast it on for my honeymoon because so basically I abandoned the big rib in favor of like a smaller fingering weight project that I could throw in my carry-on, and this seemed like a great choice, except for then I cast it on and I just had like a couple of issues. One was that I got all the way through the short rows, and then the raglan is compounded, which means the fit will be great, but it was just like way too complicated for like a carry-on airplane project to do all that counting. So that was a factor. And then the other factor was that I cast on the collar and I tried to do, I don't know if it's showing up here, I tried to do this like contrast situation where I did like one row of the white in the brown, because I was going for like a contrast baseball Henley situation, you know, those ring neck shirts they used to sell at Urban Outfitters, like that kind of vibe, where I would have like brown hem and cuffs and collar. And I did the contrast row only in stockinette, and I feel like it looks really funny, and so I wanted to frog that. Then a couple other things. One is that it is quite close to the color of my skin, so I was thinking perhaps it would be better to do like stripes, or, you know, I have enough brown where I could do like 2 rows of the brown, 2 rows of the white, and it might be more flattering. And then I was also thinking that I knit the wrong size. I'm pretty sure I cast on one size too big. But then I also tried to modify the neck because, sorry, this is like a complete tangent. I tried to modify the neck because in the pattern, it's like real uptight on the neck, which, like I said, like I don't think is the most flattering look for me as somebody who avoids lumpiness. A lot of times if I wear a high neck, like I just look lumpy. So I was trying to modify it, and I think that I don't think this is gonna work. So I'm gonna have to entirely frog this and decide what to do with it. But the yarn is beautiful. This was purchased at a time in my life where I didn't assess whether or not yarn would look good on my skin. I just picked colors I thought were pretty, and to be fair, this is a beautiful color. So this is Ramblin' On. It's a Magpie Fibers MCN blend. Magpie Fibers is a company local to me. I used to work for them, so I purchased this while I worked there. Can't really say anything good about that experience, but I purchased this while I used to work there, and then I sat on it. That was in like 2018, so I sat on it for a long time, and I finally decided, oh, I want to use the good yarn in my stash. You know what it is, like you sit on the nice yarn. So I was sitting on this forever, and I decided to cast it on, and it just wasn't like the vision. Oh no, the vision just was not hitting the way I wanted it to, but the pattern's beautiful, so I'm definitely going to circle back to the pattern, perhaps with this yarn and perhaps not. We will see. But I do have 2 skeins of each color, so I could do like a micro stripe situation. I think that might be really pretty. That might be more flattering and more beautiful than just this as the body, because this brown like would be much more flattering with my skin color than this nude-ish color for me. For me, this is sort of a nude color. I'm a pale lady, so yeah. So this is probably going to be completely frogged and started over, but I'd like to still keep the same pattern with it because I cannot justify knitting a 9th Cozy Classic Light. Although, to be fair, like I mentioned, one of them is a Christmas sweater, 2 of them are short sleeves, so like I could justify it, but like like that's ridiculous. Oh, and I have this cute little Black Pearl Magic bag in here. It has some chapstick and like some other random little notions in it, so that's fun. We have 2 more. This is definitely the oldest one. It's also the most hated one, I think partially because I'm knitting it on bamboo needles. This is the Aimee Cardigan by Joji Locatelli. Knit in, it's like another scrappy situation. Try to show it, there we go. So this is like a drop shoulder cardigan with short row shaping for the sleeves, and you're supposed to do like a combination double knit button band, but I just like simply started and tried to figure it out like 5 or 6 times, and every single time I failed miserably to figure out how to do the button band. So I ended up saying screw it and just picking up all the way around for like a 2x2, or I guess it's 1x1 ribbing. And I've since learned from watching other people's YouTube videos that it's unlikely that this sucker will block out well because it's just really scrunched. So I have a couple options. One would be to pull out the entire button band and reknit it. One would be to block it and see how it looks and then do that. But then there's the issue of the sleeves. So I started one sleeve. I actually don't know. Let's see. So I basically have one sleeve pretty much finished to the cuff actually. And then I have one entirely unfinished sleeve. This is the second sweater that I'm showing you that has one entirely unfinished sleeve, but not the last. So that's noticing a pattern, you'd be right. I also picked up for the shoulders like pretty poorly, and there's a big seam there. This is knit, this is like 3 years old, like maybe 4 years old, this project, and I've left it in this condition for a long time, sitting in a bin. It's moved twice with me. And it's like mohair mixed with fingering. So it's like a DK weight gauge. And I think that part of the hesitation is that frogging this sucker would be hell. I mean, I don't know what I would do with all the little stripy bits of yarn. And then on top of that, like, frogging mohair is notoriously terrible. And yeah, I don't really want to separate all the, like, what would I do with all this little balls of yarn held with mohair? Knit something else striped. So then I might as well finish this. But then I think I have to rip out the button band. It's just like a nightmare project. Every couple months I like dig it out of the bag and I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I'll be brave. And I'm never brave. So this is definitely something to sit on. I don't know. I feel like I could frog it and I might feel better just knowing it's not in my home anymore. But then, you know, it would still be in my home just in all these little balls, because this is nice yarn. I wouldn't want to... This is nice yarn. And the color palette's pretty, and it's definitely something that would fit into my wardrobe. I wonder if I put it on metal needles, if it would help. But yeah, a lot of thoughts about this. Maybe I'll block it. But yeah, it's another one where like I have this huge like sack of yarn that's just sitting here. You know, like 5 or 6 balls of yarn have gone into this project, and I don't know, it feels like a waste. So that's something to think about for the new year. Okay, we're on my last WIP. And this is one that also doesn't have the second sleeve. So this is a project I started on New Year's Eve. This was my New Year's Eve cast on in 2023. So it's been on my needles for about a year and 3 weeks, and I'm actually really happy with it. This is the only one of all the WIPs that I've shown that I really want in my wardrobe, like desperately. This is the Ankers cardigan by PetiteKnit. This is also the only PetiteKnit pattern I've ever used, besides the holiday slipover. Is that right? Yeah, this is the only PetiteKnit pattern I've ever knit. Honestly, it was a slog to get through this huge ribbed yoke situation, but I would knit it again. I've been thinking about knitting this again and holding like a mohair for each ribbed section in like a striped situation. Like if the body is cream and then the yoke is like cream with like a colorful mohair for each different rib. I think that could be really cute. This yarn is, let me see if I can get this right. This is Frabjous Fibers Mad Hatter Sport in the colorway Destination New England. It's a mouthful. So there was a yarn store in Baltimore, like an hour from me, that was closing, and they had 75% off their entire store. And that contributed significantly to my stash, which was the summer of 2020. And I'm still knitting my way through yarn that I bought at that time. I've knit 2 of my sweater quantities, but I still have a ton of mohair left from that situation. So this is the last sweater quantity that I knit, or that I purchased from that store. And I have mohair from that store where I could do each stripe in a different color, and I think it'd be super cute. But I don't want to get ahead of myself because I haven't even finished my first one. I do have buttons picked out for this, and they are, I'll show those on the podcast, like when I get there. I did knit the buttonholes in, and the buttons I have are like little flower abalone buttons. So I think they'd be really cute with this. And they're small, like dainty little buttons. And my vision for this was to wear it buttoned, you know, as more of like a shirt sweater rather than an over cardigan, because it's got 0 inches of positive ease. Aside from the sleeves are a little more roomy because I did a rapid decrease, which is my favorite type of sleeve. But other than that, this would definitely be more flattering as like a shirt rather than like a cardigan, unless I wore it over a dress or something. The gauge on this pattern is really tight, which I think is part of the reason that I've let this one linger, because it was hurting my wrists to knit this. This is a sport weight yarn. It's a pretty heavy sport weight. It's like 300 yards, and the gauge is suggested to be on size 4 needles, which definitely the gauge is beautiful. I mean, the merino, it's 100% merino, so the stitches are crisp and the ribbing looks crispy on the bottom and everything, but I just really think I could have gone up to a needle size 5, and it would have had a very different vibe, where my next cardigan I'll probably do that with the mohair because I wouldn't want it directly on my skin. It'd be more of like an over dresses type of piece or over jeans, but this one is definitely more, I intended it to be like as a shirt. So the gauge being tight makes sense. Okay, now that I've like thoroughly exhausted myself talking about 3 separate sweaters that need 1 sleeve, let's show, I have 3 projects I wanted to also talk about that I fully intend to frog, because actually as I'm surrounded by all these whips down here, I'm actually not planning to frog any of these at all. I don't really know how I feel about that. I probably should consider frogging at least one. I mean, I'm considering frogging my raglan, my coloring book raglan, but only to just identically knit the same project. So I don't know if that really counts. Yeah, something to ruminate on. But I'm going to show 3 projects now that I'm intending completely to frog. Nothing to do with the pattern, definitely everything to do with my knitting or just my use case for the item where I don't really have one, and I think I could use the yarn for a much better and more beautiful purpose than how it's being used now. So I'm just going to start with this. This is the Antua Slipover. I'll put the name of the designer somewhere down, but this is a really cute little v-neck slipover. Honestly, I love the pattern. And I love a waffle stitch so much. So the yarn is stunning. This is an Advent colorway that I got from the Little Foxes Knits. It's called Fennec Fox, and then it's held with mohair in the colorway Cozy by Little Lionhead Knits, and she has the most stunning colors. So I would love to have, this is like, it's even glowing in like the light of my like dinky lamp in our apartment. Couple of reasons I want to frog this. One is that I think my gauge was too tight, well, my gauge is good, it's drapey. I knitted one size too small. The other reason is that I knit way too many rounds of decreases for the neck. I should have done like literally maybe an I-cord or like maybe 1, but it comes up way too high, and the, whatever this is called here, like right here, it pulls pretty bad, and I think it looks hideous. There's like all these holes. So I think that the yarn, you know, it's just so beautiful. My little cat. It's just so beautiful. Like I could easily knit a little wrap with this, like a little neck scarf, and it would just be such a better use for this stunning yarn. This has been sitting like in the bottom of a box for a long time. I knit this in like 2019, probably 2020, and I just would really like, to use this color. I'd really also like to reknit this pattern in different yarn, honestly even in a yellow, but just not with this exact yarn, because this is only 1 skein of fingering weight, and I used the entire skein of fingering weight to knit this, And then I also had to use a different yellow for the ribbing here, just like a solid pale yellow fingering weight that was in my stash. So yeah, this is something where I feel like even just looking at the waffle knit, like I could knit something really beautiful with this yarn. And then I could also knit this pattern in probably honestly 2 sizes bigger to make it like an oversized vest situation. And I would use both of those items a lot more than I use this. So this is something I'm planning to frog. I'll bring it up in my next podcast whether or not I got around to it. And then I also have 2 identical patterns that I want to frog. So I know, like a lot of you, it seems like, I am a big Jessie Maed fan, and I also had like a phase when I first started knitting and first started seeing the patterns. I've been knitting for a long time, but I didn't have like knitting Instagram or anything till like 2020. And when knitting Instagram hit, I was captivated by the Ripple Bralette and the My Little Secret top, which she did like the free promotion like in like May of 2020 or whatever to knit the pattern for free, and I knit like 7 of them, you know, and I didn't really get that knitting a garment just because everybody else was knitting it doesn't mean I'm going to use it. So I knit a ton of Ripple Bralettes just because like I had one skein of fingering weight yarn and I just knit it and I thought it was cute, and then, you know, it never saw the light of day in public. And so I have 2 of them that I'm planning to frog. One of them is this. So this was a project that I did because I was trying to talk about on Instagram. This was like knitted for an Instagram reel series, which is like the worst reason ever to knit something. I mean, but it was 2020, so, you know, I'm gonna give myself some grace. I wanted to make an Instagram series about knitting things with sock blanks that weren't socks. So I knit this tank top. This is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed, like I said. I'll put a picture of me wearing it. I wore this for like the photos and for the Instagram reels, which is literally so embarrassing to like say on YouTube. But I never wore this in public. I mean, obviously, I never even weaved in the ends. And I really love the sock blank. It's interesting, both of these are the yellow kind of tone because I feel like I could use some of this yarn with this yarn and make a bigger project with the mohair, and it might work out really beautifully. I don't know what else I would use this sock blank for though, to be honest, because the yellow, like the yellow's beautiful and then it turns gray, and I don't know about that. That sounds, it's ugly. It looks like your socks got real dirty and they were yellow. So this is something I have to sit on, but at least certainly the yellow, I would use it with the other mohair, so it makes sense to frog it, especially because I didn't even weave in the ends. Yeah, my knitting in 2020 was honestly really embarrassing. So this is another project from like 2021, maybe, probably 2020. No, this is from 2021. And this is also the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed. And this is also knit in fingering weight sock yarn. And this is knit in Miss Babs Two-Ply Toes. Yummy Two-Ply Toes, whatever. Her little, like, 30-gram minis. And I knit this on size 2 needles. So it's, like, extremely, extremely tightly knit. The gauge is just really dense. And I don't really... I mean, it's really short. It's, like... doesn't even cover my whole bust, like, on the bottom, and it's, the color's so beautiful, and I feel like I could definitely find another way to showcase this yarn because it's just so pretty, the reds and the fall colors. And I have acquired a DK weight sweater quantity, a cardigan quantity, that is like gold and red and white with gold and red speckles and like really fall tones. So I feel like I might be able to do a stripe or 2 in this color if I frog this, and it might look really lovely. So that's a project that I have on my 2025 Make 9 for fall. I'm saving it till the leaves match the project because I'm kind of corny. But I think that frogging this will add probably 2 inches of length, 2 or 3 inches of length to my cardigan, because I'll hold the yarn double, and that would be a lovely thing rather than having it sit in like a bin. So that, my heap is gone. That's all my projects, and that's everything I wanted to talk to you guys about. I hope that you guys have happy knitting and don't have as many WIPs as me, and stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.